Alright, in this video I wanted to talk about the idea or what is a social construct. Now, to start off, this is basically a theory of knowledge that examines how individuals and communities usually develop different patterns and understandings to these patterns. For example, let's use time, right? So at one point in history, time had to be introduced. So, of course, back in the day, you'd wake up, the sun's out, and then the sun goes down, and it's nighttime. You didn't necessarily know, it was a day. You didn't know necessarily hour for hour. You didn't know all those concepts. So basically, someone had to introduce what these were. So then someone came up with the concept of a year. Now, of course, there's some space science around it where they're saying that it takes that many days, which had to be measured, and then eventually they turn that into time, or to hours and minutes. But they basically had to create these intervals of measurements to be able to come up with these concepts. So after 365 days, they consider that a year. Someone had to call it a year. Who came up with the concept of the word year? And I think that's not necessarily the part that's a social concept or construct. The part is that everyone started to call it a year, and everyone else started to use it as well to measure time. So, like I said, there was other forms of measurements of time. So now you have the hour, now you have the minute, now you have the second, now you have days of the week, now you have months. People had to come up with the name of these terms. They didn't always mean what they meant at every single point in history. Like, these terms had to have changed. And with this change means that everyone else around has to basically start using these same terms as well. And I'm sure you can probably believe this, that there's just people that did not agree with some of the changes that were made. There was probably people that didn't think that there was 24 hours in a day. There's probably people that didn't think that there was 12 months in a year. There's probably people that didn't like the name of the months. There's probably people that didn't like the name of the days. But either way, eventually they became a norm. They got debated, they got talked about, they got used so much that everyone just got used to using them. And so if you try to call any of these things anything different nowadays, people will look at you very differently because they're not normal. An hour, we all know what an hour is. But if I called it a glockenspiel, we all know what a glockenspiel should be, but if I just started to change up the terms, it's not going to be accepted by everyone because it just doesn't make any sense. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the actual concept of a social construct and how we've developed and what people should be aware of. So when it comes down to some other ones, the first one I wanted to talk about was about countries. So the whole concept that land had to be divided and there had to be a name for this land. And if you went to this area, you had to say that you were in this land. And of course, when you have this type of social construct and now you start to create maps, everyone needs to be aware of what these places are called so that if they need to navigate to them or reference them, they have the correct name for them. And so some people, once again, probably did not agree with how some of these places were named, and some of them of course were renamed after some time. But with the whole concept of like countries being formed, I think then we can talk about race, which is the next social construct. So with race, it's usually people that are like grouped up and they reference either a skin tone and then certain features, and that determines like a race. when really everyone is still a human, everyone is still a person, but race has become this thing where they have names of it. So for me, they probably say that I'm African American or I'm black. Like, it's a social construct to name it those things. For me, I'm just a person. But for everyone else around me, they have to use some of these social constructs to identify people and to help, I guess, bring the light to certain things or start the conversations around certain things. After race, I would say money is the next like social construct, because if you really think about it, what is money? Like, yeah, we get that it's paper, but like, why does this paper have value? Why does this barter exchange way like have to go this way where I'm trading paper for commodities or things that I need? Like, it's a social construct. Someone had to put value to it. I think for the US, we kind of want a gold reserve. I mean, that's what they say, but for the people that know about the dollar, like, I don't know about that now. They keep printing out more. And yeah, other places your money can mean more, or it can be valued as more. If I take my US dollar and I go somewhere else, I can get more, and that's just part of the social construct, because maybe the commodities and resources that are available in the other countries is not as good as the US, so they just don't get as valued as much as what's in the US. So when I take something that's out of the US and I barter it with something that's in a different area, different country, they're going to value it more. But if it's a similar commodity, why would that be? If I get a bottle of water that costs $3 here, but if I go to another country and that same bottle of water costs 50 cents compared to what the dollar is, like, that's a social construct. That's interesting. Now, of course, there's other things that make that dollar value the way it is, so I can't just say it's compared to the same commodities, but at the same time, it is a social construct. Another one would be gender. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't want to go too far into this one because, well, I'm not trying to debate it on this video. I feel like there's other videos to come to debate this more. But of course, with gender, it's more about the roles that come with being. And this is the part where we're starting to switch over from a social construct to now biology. But I wanted to go more of the roles of gender. So for things to be more masculine or feminine, that is what I'm getting at here when I say that part is a social construct. And then there's a whole lot more. So the main reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I feel like in this like time and age, we are now seeing like a lot of social constructs that were created in the past are now starting to be challenged, which is good. Some of them are being changed, which is good. Some of it can also be bad, depends on your perception and how it affects you. However, these things are needing to be discussed, so I think everyone just needs to prepare themselves for more of these conversations to come. And then if a majority of people, say that this is now the new social construct, we should probably all start going with it, because now it is the thing. It's the main thing that all of us are using to have an understanding for each other. So yeah, be open to these conversations. I don't want people to be so closed off that they can't be open-minded to new social constructs that are coming along. I also do want to say that if you have some that you really do believe in, make sure you come with good evidence, not just feelings, of why it should still be in play, because some of them can be very destructive in a large scale, but could work out really good in smaller areas. So you just have to defend those points, or maybe it could be vice versa. I feel like theologically some of these topics is going to, make sense on why it is one way versus the other way. There's certain things that happen down in the city that's pretty normal, but if I were to go out to, the boondocks or hours out of the city, if I did the same thing, it would definitely not be seen as like normal, or if not, it would just seem out of place from where that area is. But of course, they have, their own social constructs. So social construct, I feel like it's a bigger thing that all of us just need to be ready to talk about. And when you do, just have an open mind. And yeah, that's it. Peace.